Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett. Oh no, I think I'm about to have another episode.
Hello, this is Charlie Jewett with the Renovating Retirement Podcast and the Financial Services Whistleblower, America's Retirement Pastor, whatever crazy title you'd like to give me for beating up the bad guys, teaching you everything you need to know to have the best retirement possible, and being a consumer advocate. I can't believe it. This is 182. This is number 182, and this episode is called None of My Clients Are in Recovery. That word recovery, what is it most notably or most usually associated with? I would say drug addiction. I looked up a little definition of it here because I'm going to teach you how I'm using the word recovery. But the definition I found was in the process of recovering from mental illness, drug addiction, or past abuse. So we are going to play with those terms or those, that original definition a little bit. But what I mean by in recovery is none of my clients ever lose money and then have to wait a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years to make that money back. Why bother, Charlie? Is this even an important topic? I don't know. Let's figure it out. I'm going to go to my favorite future value calculator. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'll talk you through it. You can do it when you get home. Or I'll make a YouTube video. Who knows? I'm going to go to my favorite thing. Go to Google search engine, put future value calculator. I've got one here by calculator.net that I've just learned to use. And it says number of periods. And I don't care if you're 30 and you want to look at 35 years until you're 65 and you retire, or if you want to look at when you're 65 and what would happen if you lived for 30 or 35 years and you needed income. I really just want you to see what happens when you allow your money to go down and then wait for it to come back, and you lose what's most important in financial services, or the most important thing in the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest, which is time. So I'm going to go ahead and type in for number of periods, 35 years. Let's pretend it's a 30-year-old that didn't start saving when they were working in their 20s. They finally got their act together at 30 years old. They're going to save till they're 65. I just typed in 35. Starting amount, we can go 0. Interest rate, we're going to put 8%, because why in the world? Seriously, think about it. Why would you ever be in something risky like the stock market or mutual funds if it wasn't going to make 8%? 6 or 7% is not enough. It's not even coming close to beating the safe strategies like growth annuities or, by the way, there's a growth annuity today that the 10-year look back is 11.5% or 11.78 or something like that, because they graciously provide the right for you to pay an extra fee. I love fees when they do this, so that you can buy more of the options that they're using behind the scenes to give you your no-risk growth. When the market goes down, you don't lose a penny. When the market goes up, you make money based on options. They allow you to buy more of them. But there's a fee. I know. We've never had the market go down 4 or 5 years in a row, ever. And if it did it for the very first time with the fee, you wouldn't even be down as much as the market goes down a couple of times a year. You wouldn't even be down 10%. And at least a couple times a year, the market drops by 10%. So, like, incredibly low risk against something that's never happened. But what does it do to the upside potential? Hello, double-digit returns and a safe growth tool. Love it. So 6 to 7%, the best growth annuities, the properly designed cash value life insurance, which you can't find anywhere unless it's somebody that's been trained. If you want to know if the life insurance is properly designed, say, do you guys have Charlie? Just if somebody's designing it for you, the life insurance agent, say, do you have Charlie Jewett's cell phone number? And they go, yes or no. If they say no, then say, never mind, just call me. If they say, yes, I do, say, cool, let's call him real quick and ask if he's trained you or what he thinks. Just put that little extra wave of protect. Listen, people do it to me all the time. I'm me. I'm this guy. And people go to their CPA, their brother, their mom, the advisor that screwed up the retirement plan I'm trying to fix. They go to them and ask them what they think. They take the extra step to get someone else's opinion. I'm just saying, take the extra step and ask them if they have my cell phone number and put me on the phone. Let me tell you if they have taken the training or not, because we're not talking about, is cash value life insurance good? No, it's not. In its original design, it sucks. Can you make it good? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can make it do incredible things. I have 17 years of stories now. The guy that trained me has over 50 years of stories. You would recognize him if I told you his name. So annuities, cash value life insurance, certainly land banking crushes the stock market. There's no reason to risk the loss of principal unless you're going to make at least 8%. Very long introduction for why I'm using 8%. So 35 years for number of periods, starting point 0, 8% rate of return. How much are we going to put in? Let's put in $500 a month. So since I'm doing periods in years, I'll put 6,000. So we have 35, 0, 8%, and 6,000 per period. I hit calculate. Cool. How much would this person have if they saved $6,000 a year and it compounded at 8%? Started with 0. They started when they were 30 and they ended when they were 65, so 35 years. They'd end up with $1.03 million, just over $1 million. Cool. Well, you've heard this, brother A, brother B, the cost of waiting, why there's urgency to get started on your savings, why you want to start your kids and grandkids as soon as you possibly can, why if you haven't gotten started, when's the best time to plant a tree 15 years ago, when's the next best time? Right now. This is why. What if the person waited 5 years? They didn't start when they were 30. They started when they were 35. So they only had 30 years instead of the 35 years. How big a deal is that? Come on, who cares? It's 5 years, Charlie. Big deal. I'm going to go ahead and change the 35 years to 30, starting at 0, compounding at 8%, putting in $6,000 and hit calculate. You can't see it, but what you see on my screen is why we're so passionate about people saving $500 a month as soon as they possibly can. As soon as you possibly can. Get $500 a month going into a pre-tax investment that creates tax-free retirement income if you can qualify. As soon as you can, take those small accounts or your Roth accounts and get them into land banking or something that over time does actually crush the stock market, where you can't even find a 17-year period in the stock market that's making 24% compounding for 17 years. As soon as you can, get your money working for you. Why? Because I just told you for 35 years, if somebody saved $500 a month at 8%, they would have ended up with $1,033,000. But if they waited 5 years, they end up at retirement, same age, 65 years old, with $680,000. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. 608. What did the 5 years cost them? What did it cost them to not save $500 a month for 5 years? I'm looking at it on my screen. I know you can't see it, but $500 a month is $6,000 a year for 5 years. So they saved $30,000 of inconvenience over a 5-year period. They got to go to more Starbucks, more parties, or at least pre-COVID-19, they got to do stuff. $6,000 for $30,000 they saved, but what did it cost them? Well, the difference between $1,033,000 and $680,000, which is what? It's like, what is that? $350,000. So they saved $30,000. It cost them $350,000. Now, here's a really interesting question for you. I don't think people think about this. I want to open your mind to what I've seen, what I've discovered, why I'm so passionate. If you're in the stock market, and like it did in early 2000s, like 2000, 2001, or like it did during the mortgage meltdown of 2008-9, or like it has done in previous decades as well at certain times. If you're in the stock market and it has a correction or a crash, and it takes 5 years for you to grow your account back to what it already was 5 years previously, if you allow yourself to be in recovery, if you have recovery time, if you lose money and then need to earn it back, doesn't that mean for 5 years your account did not compound? Think about it. Start to work through the ramifications of this. If your account is not compounding for a 5-year period because it is recovering, we've seen two of the biggest ones this century, the crash of 2000, 2001, the dot-com bubble, and the mortgage meltdown, the crash of 2008 and 9. Who knows when the market's going to correct now? We're at all-time highs, and it's had the largest run-up of all time from 2008 until now. And the tricky part about this, because think about this. Look at the definition. Back to the definition of recovery. Oh, somehow I lost it. That's fun. Where is it? Here it is. In the process of recovering from mental illness, drug addiction, or past abuse, I think there is a drug addiction in using the market. I think people like it. They need it. They like the feeling of it. They're bored by things that don't lose money. But one of the drug addictions or mental illness parts of it, and if you want to replace mental illness with confusion, it may be easier to tolerate that this may apply to you. So if you call it confusion, drug addiction, things like that, my personal opinion is as the market recovered from 2008 and took 6-7 years for people to get the money back, it felt like growth to them. They lost a ton of money. And then they started getting statements that said the market's up 5% this month. The market went up 20% this year. The market went up this. The market went up that. They're still not back to the money they had originally. Their sheep had a plague, and they lost 40% of their sheep. Now their sheep start having babies, and they're like, profit. Like, no, that's not profit. That's recovery. You're regaining ground you already had, and you lost it. You know what you're doing? You've taken every single asset in your life, or at least in that account, and put it on the sidelines. You've stopped it from earning compound interest for however many years someone besides you decides, this group of humans that make up the market, buying and selling, you've put in someone else's hands how long you have to wait for the miracle of compound interest to start working again in your life. And if you do pay attention to the market and you look at what happened in the early 2000s where it crashed and came back, when it finally came back, the big, giant, amazing reward you had for taking all that time off and losing all that compound rate of return was another crash. Thank you very much. And I don't know what's coming. Nothing on this podcast, none of these episodes, none of what you've ever heard me say is that I'm a clairvoyant and you're going to have a monster crash coming that's going to destroy you. It's never been said like that. What you've heard me say, and what should come out of my heart if you're listening, is if you've won the game and you have enough money that you don't need the stock market, why in the world would you take the risk of another crash coming? Why would you risk your retirement if you've already saved enough money to have the retirement of your dreams, which many of you who've gotten in touch with me, I'm like retirement Santa Claus saying, oh, no, you're done. You don't even need any more money. You've been using the wrong numbers because your Joker broker tells you need 3 or 4 times as much money as you actually do. If you buy your income, you don't have to gamble in the stock market and take such a low amount of your account out and cross your fingers with crappy returns and hope that you can pay your paychecks. You don't have to do that. Retirement's so much easier than that. Put some money in an emergency fund, buy a paycheck, and put the rest in safe growth, and you're good to go. You know exactly how much money you need to retire, and it's about 1/3 of what you think. So if you have enough money, you don't need the stock market. Why would you ever let yourself be in recovery? If you don't have enough money to retire, you can't afford the risk of the stock market. What are you talking about? Why don't you use tools that compound better than the stock market? Why would you be in a tool that's a terrible compounder of money? It had a good run from 1970 to 1999, but for the last 20 years it's done terribly. Why would you be in a tool that underperforms the other growth tools when you don't even have enough to retire? So by definition, you can't be risking your assets. You need all your sheep having babies until your farm is big enough to support you. So if you don't have enough money, you can't afford the stock market. If you do have enough money, you don't need the stock market and really can't afford to take a big hit. So who in the world should be in the stock market? Who should be in recovery? Drug addicts. Drug addicts. People addicted to the stock market should stay there and continue to take the abuse of losing money when you've done your very best and reached the highest of highs. You've accomplished some amazing things, and then you lose it. And then what do you get to do? Sit on the sidelines. Well, I find this interesting. People go, but yeah, I'm in the stock market because it's got really high returns, and I listen to David Ramsey, and David Ramsey tells me that mutual funds make 12% because he's actually a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he goes inside of churches and demonically hurts people by lying because the devil is the father of lies. At least that's what I read in the Bible, Charlie. Is that right? Pretty darn close. As you may have gathered, I have some past experience in church communities, multiple decades, and my tolerance for someone that works their way into churches and then lies to people whose trust they've gained is about zero unless we can go to negative numbers. Why do you hear me talk about Dave Scamsey and Stupid Orman? Because they're cowards. They won't debate me. They're liars. They have some things that are true, like, look at this. If you get out of debt and you're not paying 25% interest to someone else's pocketbook, it's good for you. Thank you, Captain Obvious. I really appreciate you making that statement. Then you earn people's trust by showing them how to get out of debt and then turn around and convince them that taking unnecessary risk is going to give them 12% per year. It's not okay, folks. Maybe one of you could get Dave Ramsey to debate me. He makes more money than me. The amount of people he hurts is a lot bigger than the amount of people I help. He's more popular. He's more rich. I just don't think that's how you measure a man's character. I don't think that's how you measure a person's or a professional's professional competence. Don't you want somebody in your life with personal character and professional competence? They're going to do the right thing, and they know how to do the thing that you want. Dave Ramsey has proven that he won't do the right thing, and he's proven, if you look close enough, that he cannot and will not do what you want. He does not even do the type of retirement planning that people in retirement really need. I think he's good at telling people, Captain Obvious, that if you get out of debt, then you can pay yourself the interest or not give it to someone else, and that's pretty good. All right, like, why don't I write a book? If you're giving $100 away to bums and you stop, you will be $100 richer every day. Now, can I get into the church and lie to some people and hurt them while they eat donuts? Just not my thing, man. Not my thing. So, but let's go with that. Let's say that Captain Obvious was right about his 12%. Watch this. I'm in the software. I'm going to go back to 35 years. Say, what if the market does make 12%? Wouldn't it be a great place to put money, Charlie? Interesting question. Number of periods, 35 years. Starting amount, 0. Interest rate now says 12 instead of 8. Periodic deposit, which just means how much of my savings, says $6,000 a year because that's $500 a month. And I go ahead and hit calculate. What Dave Ramsey leads people to believe, brace yourself, leads people to believe is that they would end up with, if they're saving $6,000 a year for 35 years, they'd end up with $2.6 million. $2.6 million. That's the beauty of compound interest. If you can make 12 instead of 8, things are better. Okay. What do periods of recovery do if you're earning high interest? What's the cost of waiting, whether you chose to wait like Brother A, Brother B, and you chose to wait until you were 35 to start saving instead of 30, or if the market just has one of its corrections that we can go back and see that it does frequently, and the market tells you you have to wait 5 years because your account goes down and then starts creeping back up for the next 3-4 years, which feels like profit to you, and it's not. And then finally, some mystery period, you're back to what you had already accomplished, and that was a 5-year period. Let's take a peek if I change the number of periods to 30 instead of 35. Remember, $2.6 million. Now we only have $1.4 million, $1.447 million, $1.448. So it cost $1 million from $2.5 million or $2.6 million. Cost $1 million. That sounds like about 40% to me. Cost you 40% of your nest egg to wait 5 years to start or have one single 5-year hiccup in a 35-year period. Is it possible, and I'll let you go do this math if you want to. I've already done it. Is it possible that the higher interest an investment earns, the more you suffer from periods of waiting or periods of recovery? You think it's possible? In my research, I'll let you do your own. If you truly think the investment is going to have high returns, that means periods of loss and recovery will hurt you even more. So again, why are people rushing to use the stock market if they believe it has high rate of return when they know that it's going to force you to take 5, 6, 7-year periods off and not compound your interest. Wouldn't it be interesting? I have not done this research yet, but I will. Wouldn't it be interesting if someone came along and said, you'd end up with the same amount of money if you just made this small, flat, conservative compounding rate and never took a 5-year break? What is the equivalent of 12 years of compounding with a 5-year break? What is the equivalent without that 5-year break? Because none of my clients are in recovery. Why do I keep saying that? Because after doing the research that losing money hurts people so much and finding out that for the last 20 or 30 years, we've had tools that don't go down when the market goes down. So you literally never lose a penny. And then there is no recovery. It's just the next time the market goes up, you start growing your big, large account. It's the largest it has ever been. Every time you make money, it locks it in. You never go backwards. The market goes down, and then it starts its recovery where everybody's suffering for 5 to 6 years trying to get back to what they already had, and you start growing from the largest your account has ever been. You start going up when the market does. So what are the periods of, quote, recovery inside of these strategies that never go down? 1 year, 2 years. You never go down. You might take a year off, sit on the sidelines as if you were a clairvoyant and you saw the crash coming and put all your money in cash. Take a year off, take 2 years off, and then start growing, ride the market recovery up, and your account just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What would be fun to know is, what about where these recoveries happen? Would it matter if the market went down and then took 4 or 5 years to get back up? Early in your saving, if you're 30 and you're saving till you're 65, where does it hurt you the most? Does it hurt you in the early years when your account is small? Or does it hurt you in the later years when your account is big? I haven't gone in and done it, but I certainly have a theory. Towards the end of your life, when your account's at $1.5 million or $2 million, and it's supposed to compound for another 5 years at 8%, 8% of $2 million is a lot of money, and it takes a break for 5 years there, where you're supposed to earn 8% on the big number, don't you think that taking a break, compounding on the big number might hurt you more than on the small number? I haven't gone and done the research, but just basic math and stuff I've looked at in the past certainly makes me think that's the situation. And folks, reverse dollar cost averaging, I've said it over and over and over again. Nobody should need to ever hear it again. Being in an account that goes up and down and taking income out of it, holy smokes. Nobody listening should be doing that. Let me give you a number that's important. There's zero research, zero proof, not a single human alive that can make an argument that you can get retirement income out of a portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds going up and down, that you can get a retirement income anywhere close to what you can get from the competitors, like fixed annuity without an income rider, a fixed annuity with an income rider, a properly structured cash value life insurance policy, a laddering plan where you live off of cash for 5 years and you buy a 5-year annuity and then live off of that for 5 years and put the third bucket in land banking, and then you turn it into an income in year 11. There's no one, not a single human on the planet that can argue that people should be, mathematically, I'm not talking about their stupid opinion because they get paid to do this and it hurts them when you leave. I'm talking about mathematically, there's not a human on the planet that can produce a speck of evidence that your retirement will be better if you leave your money in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Even Stupid Orman has come out and said, yeah, the old 60-40. I don't know. I should do a girl. Yeah, the old 60-40 plan. Used to work 60% bonds, 40% stocks, and it totally doesn't work. I got half smart. I'm still stupid, but I got half smart. So now you should do 75-25. Don't look at other tools. Just keep using crappy tools, but with a different percent. Really? 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 Come on. How is it possible that people buy books from these guys? How is it possible that Oprah and different people put them on their show? How is it possible that we don't see right through this? Oh, I was wrong, but still listen to me anyway. And don't do a 60-40, do a 75-25. Or, here's what's interesting, or when the horse and buggy doesn't work as well as a car, stupid Orman, couldn't you just say, maybe try a car? Maybe try a tool that was designed for what you're actually trying to accomplish. Oh, wait. You're going from the growth phase, the accumulation phase of retirement, to the income phase. And there's all these tools that do income amazingly, but I stopped getting paid. You know what we should do? We should still use the growth tool and just cross our fingers and hope it works out, because I get paid the whole time until you run out of money. And then when you run out of money, it's too late. And I just look at you and go, well, the market's unpredictable. Actually, the market's not unpredictable. It's pretty easy to predict ahead of time that the market is unpredictable, which means you can't plan on it. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's predictably unpredictable, which means anybody worth their salt in this profession should be telling people, don't be in an unpredictable tool while living out your retirement plan and needing income that goes up with inflation, because we have this wild animal of a tool called the stock market that's completely unpredictable, and you can't trust it. So when you need to trust something, when you need to trust that the paycheck's going to come in, that it increases over time to cover inflation, when you need to trust that if you have to spend money on long-term care, there's extra money there, when you need to trust that you'll never die before you run out of money, you shouldn't be using the unpredictable tool that none of us can trust, because we don't know what it's going to do. That's the most predictable thing in the entire financial services industry. Investing is about probabilities. What's the most probable thing that will happen in the financial services industry while you're growing your money and while you're living off your money? The most probable thing, like the sun coming up or the sun going down, the most probable thing in the entire industry is that no one knows what the stock market's going to do. The most probable thing that you can count on, take it to the bank, is that you can't count on the stock market. The most probable thing, the foundation of all retirement planning, stock market is gambling. I dare you, advisors listening to me. I dare you, advisor whose client just sent you this episode. I dare you to come on my show and challenge that point. I dare you, I beg of you, for the sake of how much help it's going to give people, if you prove me wrong or if I prove you wrong, because the only thing that matters is truth, not your stupid ego. The only thing that matters is what's true and helping people and people seeing clearly so they can make wise decisions. I dare you to come on my show and try to share with the audience what they can predictably expect from the stock market for the next 30, 60, 90 years. Team, you know what they would try to do if somebody was ignorant enough and arrogant enough to not see what a giant mistake they're about to make to try to prove 2 + 2 is 5? You know what they would try to do? And I don't want you to fall for it. Some of you have fallen for it for a long time. They're going to look backwards and say, well, here's what it used to do. And then they're going to look forwards for you and say, you'll be fine. Which is like looking backwards over the last 10 miles you just drove in the pitch black and go, well, we didn't drive off a cliff, so I can drive straight for the next 10 miles in the dark, because there can't be a cliff. There wasn't one in the past. There's certainly not going to be one in the future. How silly is that? And how much more silly is that when they're using the most recent past, while this giant group of people called the baby boomers were saving money and putting it away and buying stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and those exact same people are turning the ship around, not putting money into the stock market and selling it to move into the types of things that I teach, because they are thinking clearly, saying, oh, I need income, not gambling. Oh, look, the market hasn't done well in 20 years. Maybe I shouldn't use it anymore. Hello. They're selling money either to move to superior investments or superior income tools, or they're just selling money, selling stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, because they're living off of it. They got to pay their bills. I get really emotional and agitated about true things. This isn't sports radio or politics radio where some dork is arguing that Democrats are better than Republicans or Republicans are better than Democrats or something that's 100% opinion-based where we won't know for 50 years which policies actually did better for the country. I'm not sitting here turning red, huffing and puffing with steam coming out of my ears sharing an opinion. I'm turning red alone in my studio with steam coming out of my ears telling you the entire industry is lying to you saying 2 + 2 is 5, and it's so easy to show you 2 + 2 is 4. And then I show you 2 + 2 is 4, and you go, let me go to one of the people that says 2 + 2 is 5 and ask them what they think. Oh boy. Oh boy. Why? Or let me go to a CPA and ask them what they think about your new and improved fancy retirement plan that no CPA has any training on ever in any license that they need to get. And if the CPA does have a license to do any sort of financial planning, and I met them, they would be the first CPA in 17 years to have the foggiest idea what I'm even talking about. Why would somebody go to a CPA for retirement planning advice if the person does their taxes? Don't get offended. CPAs, you can call and disagree. There are some very good forward-thinking tax planning CPAs. Some of you may have heard my podcast episodes with Dominique Molina, who created the Certified Tax Coach. Tax planning is genius. However, the average CPA that you will meet or use is putting numbers in boxes. They're meeting you in March or April, or if you're a business, it might be October, whatever. They're meeting you at some point with a deadline going, what did you do back before it was too late? Back before it was New Year's Eve, and now that we can't change anything, what'd you do back then, buddy? And putting the numbers in the boxes to minimize your taxes today. Approach any CPA and say, please explain to me provisional income. Approach any CPA. Say, please explain to me acquisition indebtedness and its effect on a retirement plan and a home equity plan and how much of a down payment should be made and when you should sell a house and buy another one to avoid taxes on your IRAs. Actually, approach any CPA and say, show me how to get $600,000 out of my IRA tax-free. Approach any CPA and say, how do I put money into a 401k or an IRA pre-tax, saving the getting the tax deduction right now, and take it out 100% tax-free. And here's a hint, up to $24,800 a year for a married couple. If you don't throw in the last part, 0% will say, well, 100% will say you can't do that. If you throw in the last part, they might wise up and go, well, yeah, I don't know if that's, it just, you're spinning it differently. You're saying it in a way that, no, we're just telling the truth. Just telling you the truth, man. You can put money in a 401k and IRA, grow it to a nice big chunk, and if you only take out the standard deduction for a married couple, which there's no taxes due on, that means you put the money in, got the tax deduction, you took the money out tax-free, there were no taxes paid ever. That's the basic tenet, the foundation of 0% tax planning. How do we get people in the 0% tax bracket? Maximize your standard deduction, Roth conversion on everything else, use cash value life insurance to create tax-free retirement income since it beats the stock market anyway, put money in land banking, convert to Roth IRA, whatever. Easy peasy. Do it in my sleep. But people go to someone else who doesn't have the training, doesn't have the knowledge to say, what do you think of this? And get hurt. They confuse themselves and they say no. Sorry, I went off on a rabbit trail. Boing, boing, boing. I don't know the sound that rabbits make besides, what's up, Doc? I don't know how to make a rabbit sound, so I'm just going to wiggle my nose. There you go. I'm done. So future value calculator, back looking at this, what I want you to understand before we wrap this up is, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't have money in the stock market. You should have money in the stock market if you fully understand what you're getting and how it works, and you can't qualify for any of the better tools, or you're a self-masochist and you say, I don't care that all the safer stuff makes more money. I don't care that there's things like land banking that have triple the returns without the volatility and losses and no recovery time and lower fees. I don't care. I must be here because back to the definition of recovery is the process of recovering from a mental illness, a drug addiction, or past abuse. Change mental illness to confusion. Charlie Jewett believes 100% of the people in the stock market, at least with money that they are counting on for income one day. If you're so rich and you're just gambling and it's kind of fun, the same way you'd go to Vegas and blow $10,000 if you could afford it, no problem. I don't have any issues with that. It's just not who I meet every day. The people I meet every day have their life savings with some joker broker or on their own in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds because they think it grows better than the competing tools and they think it's going to be a retirement plan when truly you can't plan for anything with it. Change mental illness to confusion. Charlie Jewett thinks 100% of the people in the stock market are in recovery or at least need to go into recovery from that. Plus, I'm doing a play on the words that recovery time, losing money, and having to take 4, 5, 6 years to get it back. None of my clients have to do that. Confusion, the drug addiction of this feels good to me. I like doing what everybody else does. Mom did this, dad did this, my neighbors do this. I don't want to be different. I don't want to go against the grain. I don't like change. The addiction of familiarity, the addiction of watching it every day, the addiction of losing a bunch of money and for the next 6 years until you get back to what you already had, it feels like profit because it went up 11% this year. That addiction is why people stay in this abusive relationship with all that abuse and let their accounts go down and then recover. Let me make a small suggestion. Let it be a business decision. This isn't personal. It's not whether you like your advisor. It's not whether you like me. Let me go way back to the early episodes of my first year. One of the best compliments anyone could give me is, Charlie, I hate your songs. I hate your voices. I think you're totally obnoxious and annoying, but I believe that you'll do what's best for me. So can I tolerate you for 2 or 3 months while we design the best retirement plan and then not talk to you again and just talk through a translator? Yeah, 100% yeah. One of the best compliments I could ever get is I hate you, but I think you're the best of the best and I want your help. This is not, we're not getting married. This isn't a dating relationship. You don't have to like your attorney. You don't have to like your surgeon. You're going to be under anesthesia, for heaven's sakes. You don't have to like me. We're going to talk for a few months and then talk once or twice a year when you have questions. Because guess what? If your money isn't going up and down every single day in some risky investment, there's not that much to talk about. We talk when you get an inheritance. We talk when you have a major purchase to make. We talk when tax laws change. We talk once a year when you get your annual statements. The most I talk to any client is 2 or 3 times a year. And it's not because I'm not available. You all have my cell phone. My cell phone is out there publicly. On my most recent webinars on Facebook, I give my cell phone away. I'm not hard to find. Charlie@JewettWealth.com. You can just do it that way. Charlie, CHARLIE at JEWETTWealth.com. So just a small tip. That was in the middle of the small tip. Make it a business decision who you work with, not who you like, who lives in your town, who's close, who responds to emails the quickest. Don't make it about that. Make it about who gets you the best results. It's a business decision. And make it mathematical. I understand you're emotional and you make it's easier to get you to make decisions when you're all buttered up and warmed up and a tear coming down your cheek. I know that, but you're better than that. This is about money. It's about income. It's about how much you pay in taxes, how big your accounts are, how much someone gets if he dies, how much do we have to pay for medical expenses. These are numbers. Make it a business decision who you work with, and make it a numerical decision what financial plan you choose, what investments you choose. Charlie, which investment would I end up with the most money based on all of the research for this account, my Roth? I'll go, it's this one. Is it guaranteed? No, none of them are. This is just what we have. We've got this one has made this, this one has made this, that one has made this. The one with the highest rate of return has the least risk and the lowest fees. That's the one I would use. Cool, decision made. Okay, Charlie, for my IRAs and 401ks, my pre-tax money, not my Roths, because those are about income, individual retirement account. Those are about income. Why are you putting money away pre-tax for a later date? Because you need income. That's what retirement planning is. Okay, Charlie, where do I put these to create the highest income that lasts the longest? And I go, This one doesn't guarantee any income, and when you run out of money. This one has very low income, and you never run out, but your income is crazy low. This one has ripping high income, and you never run out of income. If you run out of money, you keep getting income, and even after you run out of money, you can get raises to that income every 2 years. That's where I'd put my money. Awesome. Thank you, Charlie. Make it about the math, and then maybe slip in. Thank you. I hate you, Charlie, but you are the best. That's great, but I hate you. Awesome. This is business. It's not personal. We're not getting married here. We're trying to grow your money and build an income plan. Charlie, I've got money I want in case of emergencies, and the bank is not paying very much. What do I do with it? Aha. Banks don't pay very much. Here's another option that pays more but doesn't have 100% liquidity. Here's another option that has 80 to 90% liquidity that pays a ton. And then here's one with 100% liquidity that for some people is okay, but it doesn't pay as much as the one with 80 to 90% liquidity. If you can tolerate not being able to touch 10 to 15,000 of that 100 grand for your emergency, at least for the first 2, 3, 4 years, we can put it over here and make a ton of money. What do you think? And you just pick one. There's not a right or a wrong. There's math and then your choice. What's the right food to eat tonight? I don't know. There's just a menu, your allergies, and your preferences. That's it. It's easy. I'm going to shut up because I've been talking for too long, but none of my clients are in recovery. Why? Because very much on purpose. Very on purpose. We don't use inferior investments that allow your account to get small and have to grow again for 4, 5, 6 years just to get back to where you already had arrived. But what you lost was 5 years, which I've shown you can cost you 30 to 40% of your retirement. What if it happens twice in those 35 years? Am I exaggerating that you're 60, 70% less retirement assets and income if it happens twice? Am I exaggerating? I am not. Very on purpose, I don't allow my clients to go backwards, not because it's just unpleasant, but because all of the tools that protect you from the going backwards earn even more interest, provide even more income than the stock market does anyway if we ignore those recovery periods. If we look at just real returns, pretending the market makes 6 or 7 steady without losses and then pays you an income, all of the safer tools beat the stock market in everything we can measure besides the crack cocaine addiction to watching all the ups and downs. Other than that, I don't have any strong opinions on the subject. Why do I do this? Because I happen to think, even if you hate me, that you people are the best.
Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett.
That's all, folks.